Welcome. This is your final set of notes from me for the rest of the school year. Let that sink in for just 1 second. And we're moving on. So ecosystems are dynamic. That word means changing. They are always changing. Predators come, predators go. Sometimes we mow the grass and that messes up the bees. Humans are a natural part of the ecosystem, but a lot of changes come because of human beings. Okay. We use the ecosystem to meet our basic needs. We use the ecosystem for our food, for our water. We use trees for our shelter. We use animals such as the cat who's licking his butt right now as a pet. I use all sorts of things in my house in order to meet my needs so that I am comfortable. And the ecosystem kind of changes with us for the most part. So human actions can directly alter or change the ecosystem. So habitat size, the quality of resources, the structure of a habitat. We as human beings, we like to think that we are greater than any other organism on Earth. And sure, we kind of are, because unlike my cat, I don't ever lick my butthole. I use toilet paper. I sleep on a bed with really nice sheets. Y'all have 16 pairs of sneakers. You have AirPods. You have nice comfy beds to sleep in, most likely. We have cars and buses to transport us around. We don't even have to walk anymore, really. So we really have used the ecosystem to its fullest. Sometimes this is bad, though. We need houses that are big, mansions, and huge. Well, in order to build a house, you need to cut down trees or ruin habitats for some organisms. We are actually what's called genetically modifying crops, chickens, cows. I'm going to teach you about it in a couple slides to make them almost unnatural. So we'll revisit that in a little bit. Sometimes they are positive, though. Humans don't entirely ruin the earth, but for the most part, humans are terrible. We really are ruining Earth, and there's no plan B. We think we might be able to live on Mars. Right now, we can't. So we have to take care of Earth here. So disturbances can lead to an increase or decrease in population size. If we decide that Louisa County all of a sudden needs another housing development, we need more houses, well, that means we're going to have to cut down more trees. And then all of the bugs, the critters, the rodents, the deer, any other weird animal that lives in there now suddenly doesn't have a home to live in. So a lot of times these disturbances or these changes that humans cause are most of the time bad for true animals. I know humans are animals, but most people see us as better than animals just because for the most part we kind of are. Remember that all the ecosystems are interconnected. So we talked about food webs and how they are more realistic, that a snake doesn't only eat mice. Snake might eat mice or chipmunks or rats. They might even eat small birds or lizards. Sometimes snakes eat other snakes. I like to think of that like a person slurping pasta, like spaghetti noodles. Okay. So when we mess up one thing, it creates a ripple effect. So right now the big issue is climate change. And the environment is getting warmer. It's getting very hot, more carbon dioxide because we just keep cutting down trees and we keep making more factories. So both of those factors are making more carbon dioxide. Well, then the atmosphere gets hot. And what happens to ice cubes when it's hot? They melt. So now the glaciers are melting. Well, when the glaciers melt, now the ocean becomes less salty because we're adding more water into the ocean. Now all of the aquatic life might die or needs to adapt because all of a sudden the salt water is less salty. It truly becomes a huge issue. So the biodiversity could change as humans interact with their environment, whether it's positive or negative. So biodiversity, goodness, includes the full range of species that lives in an area. So we have all sorts of biodiversity in any habitat. We have deer, we have chipmunks and squirrels. I'm just talking right around Louisa. I know there's always some wolf or coyote that gets shot somewhere and everyone always says, Miss Reynolds, did you just see that? No, I didn't. Okay, we have those. We obviously have humans. We have all sorts of plant life. We have pine trees. We have angiosperms. We have deciduous trees. We have shrubs and grasses. So it is estimated that there are between 3 and 30 million species on Earth. So far, we have only identified 1.7 million. I just want to point out, right here's a bison. Ding, dang. Nailed it. Okay. So there are a ton more species out there that we think are out there anyway. We have not explored most of the ocean, and we have not explored all the teeny tiny little crevices in between the ocean and the land. There's all sorts of bacteria, archaea, plants. So we have a lot to learn yet. And what you guys are about to learn for the next couple slides is what I like to call humans suck. Because honestly, we do. Humans are terrible. We do terrible things to the earth, so we're going to talk about them all real quick, because your project that's coming up for worth at least 70 points, you're going to do the project called Humans Suck. So let's jump in. Pollution. Hopefully we know what that is. It's the addition of any substance or any form of energy to the environment, something that's not supposed to be there. So trash on the side of the road. There's all kinds of cigarette butts and plastic. People seem to throw just their McDonald's trash out of their car window as if it's such a pain in the butt to keep it in your car. It's ridiculous. So this happens faster than it can be recycled into a harmless form. So plastic is what's called not biodegradable. It does not break down. So that water bottle that's sitting on the side of the road, it will still be there tomorrow, 10 years from now, 30 years from now. It will likely still be there 150 years from now, unless someone goes out there and cleans it up. So you might see people picking up trash on the beach or on the side of the road. So what this picture's showing, it's not a dead whale. It's actually a whale made from trash that this artist found along the beach. And then they shoved all the extra trash into its, quote, belly. So all of this was found just on this one beach. That's ridiculous. I mean, that doesn't even look nice. She's a great artist, sure, but that looks like a piece of trash. I mean, it truly does. Deforestation. So forest cover, as of last year, 2018, 31% of Earth's land surfaces. But humans suck. We have fires, we have clear cut, we have ranched, developed. We have done all sorts of things to cut down and ruin trees. Obviously, we've been learning about it for a long, long time. Why are trees important? Trees are important for habitats, for all sorts of animals. Trees are important for oxygen, for us to breathe. Trees are important for removing carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. Trees are all sorts of important. We eat a lot of tree things, apples, oranges, lemons, all those things come from trees. So when we're cutting down all of this area, I mean, you can see here, all of this is obviously tree. All of this has been cut down. It was supposed to be just one big pretty picture of trees. And then we cut it down and we put houses in here. And we put farms. And we put this big dirt pile. Who even knows what that is? So we are cutting down trees. We're ruining our atmosphere because we feel like we need more houses. Or because we feel like we need more, I don't know, dirt, it looks like. This one's a tricky word. Eutrophication. Eutrophication is when extra nutrients or excessive nutrients run off into a lake or other bodies of water. So, like I said, this is frequently runoff. This is really bad. So my father, Christopher Riddle, I'm calling him out. He loves his grass. He might even love his grass more than he loves me. And he fertilizes it all the time. He's out there first thing in the morning, laying down the fertilizer, and then he cuts it at the end of the day. He loves his grass. When he does this, and it rains, all of the fertilizer that didn't get absorbed by the grass goes into the rainwater. It gets absorbed and it gets taken downstream. Then when that river, that rainwater, I live by what's called the Codorus Creek. All that fertilizer goes into the Codorus Creek. And then that Codorus Creek runs down into the Susquehanna River. And then that river flows into the Chesapeake Bay. So let's think. Why did my dad fertilize his grass? What was he trying to do? He was trying to make the grass grow bigger. Its fertilizer's job is to make plants grow. So when this fertilizer gets into water and it touches the algae, what do you think the algae is going to do? Algae is a plant, so it's going to grow. It's going to grow excessively. You can see here in this picture, there's algae everywhere. It's all the way back here. You can see it's green the whole way out as far as we can see. There's a big green patch out here. And what are these things here? Floating dead fish. Like, that might be two fish. Might be a piece of trash, but this one's definitely fish. Fish. Okay. So when this happens, it blocks all of the sunlight. Okay, so fish do need a little bit of sun. They can't photosynthesize. But what really becomes an issue is when the algae dies, it sinks to the bottom. And then when that happens, it sucks up all of the oxygen in the water. So now the fish all of a sudden cannot breathe and they suffocate to death. So this is truly a catastrophic issue, all blamed on Chris Riddle. Just kidding. There's bigger fish to fry. Get it? Ha! Poaching. Poaching is when animals are killed illegally. Usually occurs when animals possess something that is considered valuable, such as fur, like fur coats, ivory, like an elephant's tusk. People of Asian descent often feel that ivory can be used for medicinal purposes or medicine. There's some animals that bears, I know there's a part of a bear that's very valuable and they think it cures cancer. It doesn't. But look at all these tigers here that were killed. These were living, breathing animals and now they're a rug. Like, really? You don't think we can just make that in a factory? It's ridiculous. So all of these pure, innocent tigers were slaughtered illegally, and these furs are sold on what's called the black market. So they're sold kind of behind the government's supervision, and that's how they keep getting away with this stuff, because this government can't really stop what they can't see. Global warming, I'm going to also type in here, I'll be back in 2 seconds. Fixed it. Global warming can also be called climate change. I don't want you to freak out and just think, oh my gosh, the Earth's getting warmer. It is. Okay. It is changing. The average temperature over the entire planet is getting warmer, but it's nicer to use the word climate change. People don't freak out as much, even though they should be freaking out. Global warming is the gradual rising of Earth's temperatures. This is a huge threat, greater than anything humans have ever faced in history. Like I said at the top of this presentation, when there's more carbon dioxide, that means it gets hotter. When it gets hotter, ice cubes melt. When ice cubes melt, hint, the glaciers, when the glaciers melt, it causes the oceans to rise, creating two problems. The first one is the ocean is less salty. The second one is that now all of those nice beaches you go visit in the middle of the summer, gone, because they just got flooded. Okay, so here's a very sad polar bear picture. This makes me cry. I cannot look at it for too long. It's very sad. He's very hungry. He has no ice to live on, and he has no fish to eat. Ugh. Invasive species, this is totally my baby. I love invasive species, although I hate them at the same time. An invasive species is any kind of living organism that is not native. I'm sorry, I'm rushing, I'm running out of time. So this is where we're taking something from one area of the world and we're moving it to another. The lionfish. If you want to possibly do this project next week, talk to me about the lionfish. I will talk your ear off for about an hour. I love it. So typically humans do this. So just 2 seconds on the lionfish. We took this animal from India and we put it over here. And then now all of a sudden it's killing all of the fishies. No good. There it is. Boom. Lionfish. Look at all those lionfish all over the place. And it's killing all of the other fish in the area around here. No good. Last one. GMOs. We talked about this one before. Genetically modified organisms. What happened here is we manipulated the DNA in a lab. And we took DNA from one creature and we put it inside another one. So we have those glow-in-the-dark cats and bacteria. These chickens were an example. So in the 1950s, chickens were only this big. Now in 2008, we have gigantic chickens in half of the time. Not quite, but close. Because humans are hungry and we wanted bigger, fatter chickens so that we could eat more. So I'm sorry I rushed. If you have any questions, please let me know. You're definitely going to learn more about this project next week when we really dive into all of these topics. So start thinking about which one you liked the most.